Hello guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to work with secrets. So this complete topic is going to be all about secrets, and the first video is all about going to be introduction to secrets. Do remember that later point of time we're gonna work with secrets, and also we're gonna work with combination of your config map and secrets. I've already designed the course. I've just prepared this topic just to give you some introduction to secrets, and then we're gonna take it forward in terms of working with imperative and as well as declarative as well in terms of secrets. So just gonna start with imperative mode, and then we're gonna slowly build up towards the declarative mode as well, and then we're gonna combine both config map and secrets, and then I'm gonna give you something different or unique in that front. Now let's just understand what's the difference between imperative and declarative. So as you can see over here, so this is basically the who control create secret. So if you are executing in a command line method, in an interactive method, so you can use this. You're going to have three options here to declare as part of this command. So one is the Docker registry. So for example, when you use Docker registry is when you want to interact with your private Docker images, where you don't want to enter the username and password every single time, and you don't want to expose your username and password every single time. So you do this one time of entering username and password and then storing it as part of your secrets. So whenever an image is being called or pulled from Docker image, or any other repository for that matter, doesn't have to be Docker image, from any other repository outside it, you can call up the secret value as part of the configuration. The configuration will go like image pool secret. So that's something which we will be actually storing upon using Docker registry. Docker registry is just an example. The name is Docker, but then you can incorporate this with any registries for that matter. So you just have a URL, and there you need to declare your container repository, and then it basically goes and pulls it from there, and then you need to generate a secret value in that repository. So I'm going to show you how it works in Docker repository, and then you can actually do the same in terms of hands-on video. The next one is generic. Generic is basically the default username and passwords, which is used on most of the systems. It could be about your basic authentication, your SSS authentication, service account opens. It could be anything. So basically a generic way of working with it. Next is TLS. TLS is more specific to your security towards SSL and TLS certificate related security. And here we will be using this parameter to install or to hold a private key, public key, whatever the keys you have towards working with your servers. So that's something which you can use with this TLS method of authentication. Now, do remember that if it is public key, more or less we go for the config map. So if it's a private key, we go for a TLS secret. So that makes sense because there's no need for you to save it in a secret format in terms of public key, but private key does require you to hold it secretly with the encoded values. So that's majorly is the classification and divisions. And in terms of declarative built-in types, a very simple one. So this is what you will do as part of YAML configuration. So when you do the YAML configuration or when you configure a YAML file, you cannot use any of these. Okay, so this is only for while you run this as a command line interface. So when you run kubectl create secret, you can, after this, you can give either Docker registry, generic, or TLS. So that's very simple and straightforward. But then in terms of declarative approach, the built-in types over here are, used in different situations here. So let me just tell you in a very quick note here. So this is your Docker config. So anything related to Docker configuration like Docker registry or blah, 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 you can use this Docker config where you define that parameter within the same YAML file. But if you want to define it in a different file called a JSON file format, so you can use this where you will hold these values, whatever the near and dear value you have to hold it as part of secrets, you will hold it in a different file, and then you will import the file import that JSON file onto this YAML file by using this method. So that's basically why we use this config JSON, because it will refer to a JSON file, and JSON file will have the secret values. In terms of OPEC, it's basically like a generic format, and generic format in the sense like generic username passwords. If you want to hold it, you can go with OPEC over here. In terms of TLS, it is basically the TLS, whatever we discussed about the TLS in terms of imperative, so it's the same thing. I try to match it mostly so that you can stay relevant until unless you get to this one. So this is very much specific towards basic authentication, SSH authentication, and service account token. When we talk about authorization and authentication, we will talk about service access token, more about that. And secrets can hold their information as well as part of it. But then it requires a specific parameter defining about this so that it can look it can make more sense when you deploy the YAML file. When you look out the YAML file also, it makes sense because you have different classification for basic SSH and service account authentication. So that's why they have created the specific categories for it. Though OPEC can hold most of it, but still you have classifications so that it is much better to store your secrets in a specific classified item so that it's easy for you to sort out when you have multiple secrets and you don't have to hold, all formatted into one OPEC, type of secret. Now, do remember that authentication sometimes requires you to do the first level of encoding. So there are multiple levels of encoding comes into picture. You can use third-party applications to go for multiple levels. But first level of authentication or, creating a token is with base64, which is a software which is installed on your Linux operating system. So it's not something which you need to download or install. It's by default present on most of the Unix operating systems. So you can use the encoding format. You can use just type echo-n, which is going to echo this particular line, but then it's not going to give any space. It's going to be like written directly into this command. So this is basically a pipe symbol, which represents another command over here. So whatever the output is the input of the next command. So that's what the pipe symbol represents. So when you type base64 over here, so what's going to do is like it's going to encode this particular word, which is demo_db, and it's going to give you a encrypted or encoded output. Now, using this encoded or encrypted output, you can decode this. This is actually decoding, not encoding again. Sorry about that. So here, let's just say that this is the output of the previous value. For an example, you can use base64-d to decode this information. Do remember, this is just the one layer of encoding and decoding. So, which means that anyone who has access to this file who can easily read the encoded format if it's just encoded with one mechanism. So that's something which you should remember before going forward. I'll be talking about different other concepts which is towards the secrets while we go forward with this training, because a lot of things doesn't make sense if I explain it right now. But when I do the hands-on and then explain you that time, it really makes sense and it opens your eyes as well. Thank you again for your patience and time. I will see you on the next video.